Welcome to today's world-renowned RootsMagic webinar. My name is Michael Booth, and I'm Vice President of RootsMagic and one of its developers. And also with us this afternoon is the Roots Magician himself, Bruce Busby. And Bruce, of course, is the President of RootsMagic and its author. Now, RootsMagic 5 is the latest version of our award-winning software, which makes family history easy. And one of its most powerful new features is the CountyCheck. And tonight, we'll look at this new feature and learn how it will confirm and correct the existence of a county, state, or country on any given date from a multinational database. And you'll even learn how to use it to find research tips, sources, and even historical maps for your ancestral lands. And with that introduction, I'll turn the time over to Bruce.
Hey, thanks for joining us for today's mini webinar. Today, as Mike mentioned, we are going to discuss the new CountyCheck feature in RootsMagic 5. So before I really get into too much on this, I want to kind of mention what it is and what it isn't. The CountyCheck is basically, it's a database of places at the county level or more general. So in other words, counties, states, countries, that type of thing. And beyond being just a list of those places, this database also has when and where each of those counties or states or countries or whatever were created, what date they were dissolved or disappeared, and what they evolved into or what they evolved from. So, like I say, keep in mind that this is not at the city level. So we get a lot of questions about this CountyCheck, and that's actually why it's called CountyCheck and not something like PlaceCheck, because the data for every city, whatever, when it was created, when it disappeared, is not readily available, and it would be a massive database as well. So keeping that in mind, the second thing is that CountyCheck currently in RootsMagic is limited to the US, Canada, the United Kingdom, and Australia. Now, as this type of data becomes available for other countries, we will add those other countries, that other information in. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and jump right in. And the CountyCheck, there's actually kind of two parts to that. One is just the automated CountyCheck, and the other is the CountyCheck Report. And we'll talk about each of those. So first, let's show an example of the CountyCheck, the automated version. So I'm going to go into a person's edit screen, and I'm just going to pick a particular event, and we're just going to kind of play around with this information. So if I were to come in here and enter a date, 1879 in Salem, Story County, Iowa, United States. In other words, I've entered a date and a place, and this will work whether you are adding a new fact or whether you're editing a fact. When I click Save, you'll notice nothing happened. Well, actually something did happen, and what that something was that nothing happened. Okay, what I mean by that is let's go ahead and try something else. I'm going to keep that same place, but instead of the date being 1879, I'm going to say that this event happened in 1845. And this works whether it's just a year or, month and year or whatever. I'm just using a year to simplify this. So I'm going to say in 1845 in Salem, Story, Iowa. Now when I click Save, okay, now you'll notice that something did happen, okay? And what I meant by before saying that the something that happened was that nothing happened, what I meant was that RootsMagic had checked the date and the place and determined that that place, in other words, that county, that state, that country, did exist on the date I had entered. But in this case, I entered 1845 and entered this place, and you'll notice that RootsMagic is telling me that Story County wasn't created until January 13th of 1846, and I had said 1845. Okay, so it's telling me that the date I entered, that county didn't exist. And so it's given me some suggestions. It says that Salem may actually have belonged in the following: Lynn County. Okay. Now, the reason for that is that Story actually came from Lynn County. Now, when I have this county check, there's a couple of options. The first two options are these down here. One of those is change. If I click on change, RootsMagic is going to change the place I entered to Story, Lynn, and so on. On the other hand, if I say keep the original place, it's going to keep exactly what I have. It's making a suggestion, but I don't have to take it. Now, there's a number of things I can actually do. You'll notice in the problem that the county that it's saying there's a problem with is actually a hyperlink. Okay, if I click on Story, RootsMagic is going to bring up more information about Story County. You'll notice that in the suggestion, though, there's a little information button right here, and so I can actually get more information about the suggestion as well. Now, sometimes RootsMagic may have more than one suggestion, and you can click the little information button to see the more information about each of those suggestions. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. I'm going to go ahead and click on Story County. That's the county that I had actually entered right here that supposedly didn't exist in 1845. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And RootsMagic is going to bring up the county check screen for Story County. Now you'll notice also that the state and the country are hyperlinks on this screen as well. Now I can click on those to go ahead and bring up this county check screen for these places as well. You'll also notice that it says that Story County was created in 1846, just like the original screen said, from Lynn County, and that's why it was suggesting that. Okay, now anytime I'm on this county check screen, I have several options. I can look and see, okay, this is known as Story, and it's a county, and it was created in 1846, and it exists to the present. And I can see where it belongs to, okay, and I can see what it contains. And Story County didn't contain any other places. If this happened to have been Iowa that I was looking at, it would list the various counties that Iowa contained. If I selected United States, it would show me the various states that the United States contained. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to take a look at these two buttons right here. Okay, what I'm looking at is Story County. If I want to get more information about Story County other than just when it was created and from where, I can click the online information button. What RootsMagic is going to do is take me to the FamilySearch Wiki page for Story County. Now, the FamilySearch Wiki is a relatively new site that is in progress. Okay, and you can see right here it says this article is a stub. You can help by expanding it. Okay, if you happen to be an expert or know a lot about a particular county or state or country or whatever, you should consider going to the FamilySearch Wiki and contributing to those articles that you know about. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and scroll down to see more information. You'll see right now there's really not any information on county courthouses in this particular article yet. There's a little bit on history. There's the parent county, where it was created, the county seat, and so on. There's not really much information in here currently about boundary changes. Record loss, okay? There is information about record loss. The courthouse burned and many records were damaged, and there's links for more information about that. Okay, places and localities. Okay, populated places, neighboring counties, and this will take you to the FamilySearch Wiki page for those other counties. Okay, cemeteries. You're going to have the cemeteries, church information. Now, like I say, these are in progress, so there's sections that aren't filled out. Newspapers, probate, taxation, vital records, family history centers in that county, and websites with more information. And you know, that may include US GenWeb and other places like that. Okay, so if I had happened to be looking at Iowa, okay, this actually took me to that page for Story. I'm going to go ahead and click on Iowa. Now I'm looking at Iowa. Other things it was known as. It was known as Iowa Territory during this period and a state during that period. And it contributed to the Minnesota Territory, okay, in here. Now if I go to the online information for Iowa, again, it's going to go to the FamilySearch Wiki and take me to the page for Iowa. Okay, so we're not going to spend a lot of time there, but you can actually go and look at the various things. Click on the United States and go to the online information. You can see the same type of thing. Okay, well, let's say I want to kind of see what those county boundaries looked like. Okay, I can click this back arrow and go back to where I was before, Story County. So now I'm going to click on Online Map. Now, for those of you who are familiar with a program called AnyMap, this online map is going to take you to a website that is very similar to that. And let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to click on that, and it's taken me to the Newberry Library, and it's taking me to the Historical County section for Iowa. Now, this particular view is going to be showing me the boundaries on this date. There's the date of this map, December 28th, 1846. And on that date, these little black lines were the boundaries for the counties. And you'll notice that some of the counties actually extended down into Missouri, okay, on that date. And you have sections up here which were just wide open sections. The white lines are going to be the current, the modern county boundaries. You can see there's your map legend, historical county boundaries and modern county boundaries. Now you can turn these various items on and off down here on the layers. You could actually have it show you the modern county seats, unsuccessful proposals. You'll notice historical counties is on. That's going to be the little black lines. The modern county names, the modern counties, that's turned on, and the state background, that background color. Now I'm going to show you why it's kind of nice to have the modern county boundaries along with the historical county boundaries. Let's go ahead and change the date, and I'm just going to change it from 1846 to 1850. And we're going to see what changes there are. What you're going to see is there's just a few changes. One's going to be right in here where this NCA 3 is. I'll refresh the map, okay, and all of a sudden you can see you now have this Pottawatomie County was created. So I can now see what the county boundaries were in 1850. Okay, let's go a few years later. I'm going to go to 1856. And I'm going to refresh the map. And you can see that in 1856, the county boundaries were very close to what they are today. Now, there are a few changes, and that's what's nice about the little white lines, is you can see the few little places where the county boundaries were a little bit different than they are now. But the bottom line, you can see that these counties in 1856 were close enough to the current county boundaries that if you have records in Iowa, for example, after 1856, you can be pretty sure that they're going to be in the county that the city happens to be in at this time, you know, unless it happens to be right in this area or over in this area, okay, because those records, you know, may be held in the county that the city is in now, but they may be held in the county that the city was in at the time the record was created. So that's why this is important to be able to see, is so that you can know that there may be more than one county to actually look in for a particular record. Okay, now from this screen you can actually go down here and select other states and see similar county maps, historical county maps, and select dates and go ahead and see what the county boundaries looked like at that time. Okay, so let's go ahead and hop out of here. Now, I am going to go ahead and close this screen back up, and we're going to try something else. In this case, I'm going to say go ahead and keep that original place. Now, I'm going to go ahead and change this date a little bit, and we're going to go a little bit earlier. I'm going to go 1834. So, if you remember, the last one, it basically said that Story County didn't exist on that date yet. Well, when I click Save Now, you're going to see that Story wasn't created until 1846 and Iowa wasn't created until 1838. Okay, I entered 1834, so this place, not only the county, but the state itself was not around on this particular date. And so it's saying Salem may have actually belonged to one of these two places. And you can click on the little information icon to find out more about those, or click on Story or Iowa to find out more about those as well. Okay, I'm going to click on Keep Original Place, and we're going to step back even farther in time. Okay, we're going to pick 1776. Okay, now we're going to find out that, again, Story County wasn't there yet, Iowa wasn't there yet, but the United States wasn't even there yet. It wasn't created until November 15th of 1777. And so it's saying Salem might have just belonged to British America. Okay, in other words, what the United States was known as before it was known as the United States. And again, I can go in and find out more details about that. Okay, now you'll notice in this case, British North America and British America, it doesn't have the little more information and maps because apparently that particular place does not have that information for us to go to. So those little buttons, the more information and the online maps, those will appear if there happens to be more information or online maps that we happen to know about at the time. Okay, now I'm going to keep the original place again. Okay, so basically what we've talked about here is when you enter a date and a place, and it doesn't have to be just for a birth event like this. It could be any of these events in this person's life. Anytime you enter a date and a place, if RootsMagic can figure out what that date was, you know, in other words, if you didn't type in just some random text, if you could enter a date that RootsMagic can figure out what it is, and a place in the United States, Canada, Australia, and the United Kingdom, RootsMagic will check to see if that place existed at that time. Now, a couple of items. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take off the name of the state. Okay, or the country. I'm going to put just Salem, Story, Iowa. Okay, when I click Save, oh, and I'm actually going to change this date back to a valid date. So what I was showing you before is when RootsMagic would basically tell you this place didn't exist at that time. That's where RootsMagic can kind of figure out that this is a place it knows about, but that place didn't exist at the time. There's a few other options. One of these would be this one right here, where RootsMagic would say, well, yeah, I recognize this place and it did exist, but you might want to actually put the name of the country on here. And if I did want it to have the country, I could say change, or I could go ahead and keep the original place. Okay, now this is one of those areas that we are looking into. We do have users who would like to be able to say, well, I live in the United States and I never put United States on the end of my places. Is there a way that RootsMagic could not pop this up if the only reason for it is because it says United, because it didn't have United States and it wants me to do that? The answer currently is no, you can't do that. The reason for that is because we have users in Canada. They want United States on, but they don't want Canada on. We have users in the United Kingdom who they would like to have United States and Canada on the places they enter there, but they don't want United Kingdom on it. So in other words, everybody kind of wants the option of leaving their own country off. So it's much more complicated from a programming point of view than just saying, you know, yes or no, don't ask about the United States. But like I say, that is an area we are looking into. Okay, another item that we are looking into, and the reason I actually am bringing this up is just because we do get a lot of questions about these two specific items. The other is if you have the word county in with your county. When I click on save, it's going to actually suggest I change it to story. It's not going to really, it doesn't really like having the word county in there. So that's something that you can have it change it, or you can keep the original place. But there's not a way to actually just tell it in those two situations, don't pop it up, but do pop it up in all the other situations. Now that being said, you may not want this to actually even come up each time. What you can do is I can go ahead and under the tools, I can come down here to the program options. And in the program options, there's an option right here that says use CountyCheck when entering places. Now I can actually uncheck that right here and click OK. And if I do that, CountyCheck is not going to bother with this. So in other words, if I come in here and have Story County in there and change it to 1776 and do all kinds of things that aren't quite right and click save, it just goes ahead and does it. So if you want the ability to just turn that off, that's how you can do that. Now, a couple of questions that we get asked often is if I turn that off, or if I want to see events that have already been entered and I don't want to have to go in and edit them, is there a way to see, these suggested corrections kind of en masse? And the answer is yes. And so what you can do is you can come up here to the reports, and under lists, there's an option right here called the CountyCheck Report. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and click that. And the one that you're going to want is errors. Show counties that didn't exist at the time of the event. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and generate that. And this is going to go through my database and give me a list of all the places that didn't exist, all the counties that didn't exist. Okay, this place wasn't created. Box Elder wasn't created until this date, and so on. So as I scroll down, it's going to give me those places that didn't exist at a particular time. Okay, now there's an option right here, people to include. You'll notice that we actually give you a warning. This report can take a long time on large databases. Now the reason for that is that when RootsMagic is doing this, it doesn't just look at the list of places. Your database may only have a few hundred or a few thousand places, but RootsMagic can't just look at the individual places. It actually has to look at each event because it's looking at whether a place existed on a particular date. So it needs to look not just at the places, but the events themselves. And that's why this report can take a long time. In addition to that, when it looks at each of these places, it has to actually check against the CountyCheck database, which is another lookup in each one of these cases. So the program is actually doing a lot behind the scenes, looking at a lot of information to generate this report. So what you can do is you can, instead of including everyone, you can just click on that and say, I want to select people from a list, or I want to use a named group. And we have other webinars that talk about exactly how to do that, how to select people. RootsMagic will bring up a list of everybody, and you can mark them individually or mark groups of people. But you can limit who RootsMagic is going to actually check for this report. So if you're only interested in your direct family line, you can go in and say, mark me and my ancestors, and RootsMagic will only take them into account instead of all the collateral branches. Or if you wanted everybody whose last name was Smith, you can do that. Okay. The other two options right here, show minor corrections to place names and show possible matches for ambiguous place names. Now let's go ahead and show you what some of these. I usually leave these unchecked, but you can go ahead and use those. So I'm going to go ahead and generate the report, and this is going to give me a report. Like I say, it can take a little while. It's actually going to show you that, if you picked a place in a place that didn't exist, okay, Utah did not exist at the time, so it's saying, okay, there's a match here, Utah territory, this with Utah territory instead of just Utah, and it includes the United States. So that's an option right there. Show you minor corrections to place names. There's also suggestions, and I haven't actually even run this one yet. So let's see what kind of a report this one's going to give me. This is going to be some minor suggestions, okay, and it's given me Rumworth, Lanc, England. It's saying, well, it might be in Lancashire or Yorkshire. Now, obviously, you can tell by looking at this which one that's going to be. Sometimes the program is not necessarily as smart as we are at being able to just eyeball that and see. So those are some of the options for the county check. And you can turn on all three of them if you want just a massive list with a bunch of suggestions. But like I say, sometimes it's better to do one of those at a time in order to get that. Okay, so there's a couple of questions that I see here. Does the CountyCheck database include all of Ireland, not just the North? And I honestly don't know the answer to that. I think it's just the United Kingdom. Yeah, Mike actually said, yeah, it's just the United Kingdom, so it's not going to include all of Ireland. Okay, let's see, what else do we have? We only have actually a couple of questions. So do the maps work for the UK and Ireland? And the answer is they do work for the United Kingdom, but they don't currently work for Ireland. Okay. For the county, if it didn't exist, why wouldn't we change it to the information concerning that location at that time? I'm not exactly sure what that means. I think that's meaning why don't we automatically change it? And the reason we never automatically change anything that a user types in. If a user types in something, we will we will ask you if you want to change it, but we never automatically change something you've entered, including, for example, in our place list. When we geocode, we will geocode your places, but we don't automatically change your places. We will fill in a separate field called the standardized field, and you can go in and say, switch my place to that standardized place, but we never automatically change any of your data. Okay, somebody's asking about a London example. It says we have one for Howard Smith. We do have, we did this, I was experimenting with this. Keep in mind that London is a city. And as I mentioned, RootsMagic, the CountyCheck, does not know anything about cities. Okay, it does not know whether a city existed in a particular place or not.
Actually, no. London is a municipality, so it's considered on the same level as a county, and so RootsMagic treats it as a county.
Okay, yeah. So if, for example, if I came in here and did 1885 London, when I click Save, it's going to accept it there. Okay, so okay, let's see. Are there any other items? Does CountyCheck include Indian territories? And do you know that, Mike, whether it does or not?
No, it does not.
Okay, so it does not include the Indian territories. Another question: is there a way to add counties? The answer is no. This CountyCheck database is a fixed database. If you have information that you need to add that you feel is not in there, let us know. But like I say, this should contain all of those counties in these places. But like I say, if you find one that you feel should be in there, let us know. But we need more than just the name of a county. We need to know when that county was formed, where that county was formed from, what came from that county, and when that county was dissolved, if it happened to be dissolved. Okay. Well, it looks like that's most of the questions. There's a few questions in here about other webinars. I would suggest kind of taking a look at the various webinars, and like I say, there's ones on how to do the marking of people, as I mentioned. That most likely would be in the searching for people. The webinar on how to search for people, that should be the one that most likely includes how to mark people. Anyways, we'd like to thank you again for joining us. We're having these webinars every week, and we're hopefully you're able to use this CountyCheck in order to help you, clean up places, find those places that you may have entered along with a date that might not have existed that you need to go ahead and change. And so again, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.